true review.
Hello everybody, True Marvellous here, your Million G Gamer. Welcome to a true review of A Knight's Quest, available on Xbox One, PS4 and Nintendo Switch. On the Xbox it's priced at $24.99 in the EU and US regions and $19.99 in the UK. So A Knight's Quest has been a very frustrating experience for me and a very frustrating review because I really want to like this game, and I still do, despite what I'm going to say about the game. I still do have a soft spot for it. But somehow the amount of little niggles and annoyances, which could have, in my opinion, quite easily been avoided, kind of spoil that for me. So I'm going to try and explain that as best I can. But as usual, we're going to start with describing what's going on in the game. So you basically play as Rusty, the clumsy, inept adventurer, and we join him in a cave. First of all, on his hunt for treasure. He's unarmed to start off with, but you quickly manage to gain a wooden sword and shield, which takes a gazillion hits to kill an enemy. It's just ridiculous the amount of hits it takes, but fortunately you do get rid of that weapon pretty quickly. Rusty's initial adventure into the cave reveals a chest, inadvertently releases a purple crystal into the sky, which is meant to be the doom and end of the world of the kingdom of Regalia. Although the cutscene that it depicts doesn't actually show it doing anything other than floating into the sky, and the villagers just get all in a bit of a panic. So what it's actually going to do, I don't know at this point in time, because I've not got that far in the game, admittedly. And normally I would complete a game before submitting a review. There's a reason for not doing that on this occasion, is that the game has repeatedly lost me progress and then finally corrupted my save file. So that was fun, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So graphically, right off the bat, it looks very impressive. It's bright, it's colourful. The main character of Rusty is well drawn. He is animated pretty decently as well. He's got a number of moves. He can roll, he can jump, he can grab onto ledges. Later on, you can grind on rails and fire magical spells like jets of air and fireballs from his magic weapons that he gets from the Spirit Guardians, which you are tasked to find by the Mayor of Regalia. It starts off all pretty promising. You get introduced to Rusty's friend, who's basically just a voice in your ear, giving you hints and tips along the way of what you could do, and a little bit of light comedy relief, which the game tries to do way too much in my opinion. You enter into the first world or field, and it all looks pretty good, and it's all going quite well. And it's quite enjoyable at that point. You're running around the field, you're looking for chests and things, you're gathering resources and things such as berries. There's like dingle fruits, there's prickly fruits, there's slime mushrooms, there's bandages, there's magic potions, and you get all these from chests or random drops from defeating enemies. And these are all used to replenish your health if you take damage. And it's got an interesting mechanic for one of these games where you can take actually red damage to your health bar, which basically reduces your maximum hit points, and you have to use special items like the bandages to remove that red damage. It doesn't actually heal you any health, but it just removes the red damage so your health bar can get renewed up to maximum. And that's quite an interesting mechanic for this kind of game. It's more something you would find in maybe a Dark Souls kind of game. And I think that's probably where the ideas come from, but I don't think it actually fits well for this type of game, because the amount of items that you can get hold of and the amount of paltry inventory space that you get given, it gets annoying when you can't pick items up, as each item takes up a slot in your inventory and has a maximum stack value. Some of them it's 5, some of them it's more for some reason, and I've never understood that kind of system where it won't let you pick up another item but you can carry another 15 of another item you've already got. It just makes no sense in the grand scheme of inventory management, does it? You go through the first few zones, you're platforming, you're ledge jumping, you're finding chests, you're finding these gold keys, which I don't know what they actually do yet because I've not found the place where you use them. You find these little creatures called slimes as well, which is another collectible that the game has. Again, I've not found out where you use them, but apparently there's a character who gives you something for trading in the slimes. And I've also found something called essences, which are obtained or so far obtained, the two that I've managed to get hold of, are obtained from defeating powerful enemies within some of the fields, usually enemies that are protected by an elemental shield, which you have to disable first. So it's initially quite fun going around collecting all these chests and all these collectibles, and up until getting to the first boss, it was really fun. I thought the puzzles were well constructed, using a wind power you get earlier on. You was using the wind to blow windmills around, which turned platforms and such, and you had to figure out where to push blocks and things. I mean, it's nothing earth-shatteringly new, but it was all fun and well put together stuff. So the first boss was defeated, we'd returned to town, and we got sent off to find the second dungeon. And that's when I left it for my first play session. So I returned to the game a day later, and my second play session with A Knight's Quest was a vastly different experience to my first. The first, I enjoyed it, and I was really looking forward to returning to the game. But at the end of my second session, that was not the case. I pretty much had enough at that point, due to a number of issues that I had, and a number of realizations I had about the game. So we'll start with the actual levels themselves. The levels themselves, I quickly dawned on me that there was a lot of empty, dead areas in these levels. Lots of empty space which you just literally had to run through, and took about a good 20-30 seconds to run through, with nothing actually happening. I mean, that's actually not true. There was groups of enemies there, but there's no point in engaging the enemies. The combat system is a bit broken when it comes to engaging multiple foes at once, and unfortunately 95% of the time you are engaging multiple foes at once. I'll go into that now. Actually, the combat system. The combat is literally X button to attack, you hold the LB button to lock on to a single enemy, and then you can, which also acts as a rudimentary block as well. And you can also press the B button to deflect. If you hit it at the correct time, you'll deflect and stun the enemy. If it's an archer, for example, you will reflect its arrow back at it, and the arrow's got a chance to hit it and kill it instantly. And that works all really well on a 1v1 combat, but it's never 1v1 combat. So while your camera's focused onto this one enemy, and all your blocks are focused onto this one enemy, and all the attacks are aiming towards this one enemy, the other ones are just coming around the back and the side of you and just wailing on you left, right, and center, and diminishing your health. So it's a case of lock onto an enemy, run towards it, and just mercilessly whack the X button and kill it, and hit it until it's dead. Then lock onto the next enemy and attack again. And I'm just hoping you don't take too much damage from the other ones, who, even if you do block, it doesn't register as a block because you're locked onto this one enemy, and that's the only enemy the game considers that matters at that point in time. So the combat becomes a case of, what's the point of engaging in it? Sure, it may drop some random items, but these random items are all health replenishment items mostly, and if you avoid the combat entirely, you don't suffer health damage, and you won't need these health replenishment items. And a lot of them, don't replenish your health that much, that you will 9 out of 10 times lose more health than the item you will possibly gain. And again, you're not guaranteed to get an item. And this is going back to the initial problem I mentioned, the areas of vast spaces in between platforming sections. And you have this sporadic placement of groups of 4 or 5 enemies, which the game's supposed to be encouraging you to engage into, but you just don't. You just take a wide berth of them. You've got plenty of room to maneuver around them and not engage. And I found myself, on the majority of occasions where possible, just not engaging in combat and dodging them because there was no point. Similarly with the items as well, I realized from my first experience with the game that all these chests that I'd been finding, and usually that's an exciting part of these kind of games, when you find a secret passage or secret area, for example, you discover a massive chest. I mean, you get these little box chests in the game, and you get these massive elegant chests as well. Imagine it like in comparison to Legend of Zelda, when you get your normal little chests and you get many your big chests which have a special item in. These big chests don't give a special item. They can just give a basic item. In fact, they've all given a basic item so far. It's like you can kill an enemy and get a dingle fruit. You can open this massive elegant chest, which should be something amazing, and you get another dingle fruit, and you're like, wow. It's like Some of these chests are really off the beaten path as well, and you're thinking like, yeah, I found a secret. This is going to be really good because they've gone to the lengths of hiding it, and it's not. I mean, I don't know if these chests are randomly generated because once you've obviously opened them, they're open. But boy, is the reward for opening these chests, which should be an event, just so underwhelming. It's absolutely unreal. So then going back to these vast areas that we uncover, which kind of separate the platforming elements of the game, which are the game's strongest point. The platforming is pretty fun to do. You have to work your way around ledges, and a lot of the ledges are... It's very odd actually. Not all of the ledges you can't cleanly jump on with and land on with your feet. You just basically just get there enough for your character to grab onto the ledge and pull yourself up. And there was also a few occasions where I was not actually on a hole or a really little gap in between platforms, which you probably shouldn't have been able to fall down. And the character began kicking his legs like he was swimming. And after a few seconds, the game decided, nope, you're not getting out of that, and just killed me and gave me a hell of a lot of damage, because fall damage in this game is mental. It knocks a good chunk of health off you, more than anything that the enemies can do to you in any one go anyway. Like I say, the platforming is fun. And the exploration is fun. It's just the reward for this exploration is not fun, and there's just too much of these dead spaces to actually go past. I know I keep rattling on about these vast open areas and the size of each individual areas of the game, but this leads on to the next point, that the game only saves when you transition to a new area. It doesn't say when you go into the exit, it only saves when you get to the other end of the exit, so when the game reloads the next area in. That's when the game actually saves. Now, on 3 occasions, I've had the game not load. I've had the game just be stuck in an endless loading screen, and I've had to close the game down and reboot it. Then obviously, because I haven't emerged the other side, the game hasn't saved, and I've lost everything that I've done in the previous area. Now, this sometimes can amount to 20 to 30 minutes worth of exploring and picking up items and stuff, and that's just not good. It's just not good at all. That's happened on 3 separate occasions. And then, I don't know why this happened, and then to cap it all off, I returned to the game the other day to continue my adventure, which had just arrived at a desert area, I would probably call it. And there was no option to continue. It just gave me the option of new game. So closed the game down, had a quick look, see if my save file was still there. It says it was still there. Load the game back up again. No, it's not recognizing the save file. Deleted it locally, hoping the cloud save would recover perfectly fine. Again, nothing. So my save seems to have gone corrupted somehow, and I'm not able to continue. So that's like 15 hours worth of play completely gone, and that's the reason why I've not completed the game. And again, that's not good. That shouldn't be happening. There's so much I like about this game. It's so, I mean, I've been talking negatively about the game so much during the course of this assessment of the game, and I know I have, but I feel these are problems that people need to know about. And despite all that, I was enjoying the game. And this is the frustrating aspect of it. It looks nice. It sounds nice. The exploration is fun. But the reward for that exploration is not. It's just limited rewards. There's no point engaging in the combat unless it's absolutely necessary. The save system. Boy, the save system. Some of these areas are very puzzle intensive. And like I say, 20-30 minutes of figuring out the level design, figuring out what switches do what, where you're going to use your wind powers, where you've got to use your fire powers to manipulate things into place so you can progress and everything. Not good when it just loses all that progress through no fault of your own, and it's not something you can avoid doing as well. It's transitioning from zone to zone, so every time you transition, you're just crossing your fingers that it doesn't lock up and you have to restart. Oh, it's a frustrating game. It's so frustrating. It's just, I really hate doing reviews like this because it's so much fun, but then the problems are just far outweighing, what positives I can say. So I mean, we've got the price of it as well. Actually, I've not covered the price of it. It's £25. It's £25. It's $25. Sorry, $25, €25, and then 19.99 in the UK. I just don't think it has due to all these problems, I don't think it has that level of polish to command this price point. I think it needed to be at least £5 less. And even then, due to all the issues, I would probably still recommend the same thing I'm recommending now, that it is best to experience this game, but definitely wait for a sale on it. It's, unless they fixed it, I mean, things like the crashes, the save corruptions, that can be fixed. The falling down holes when you're not supposed to, that can be fixed as well. The more design issues, I mean, unless they completely revamp the game, which they're not going to realistically do, the level design is the level design. They've committed themselves to that. That's not going to change. So that's there for forevermore. As is the pointless combat, unless they redesign the enemy placements so you have got to engage in them, or completely revamp the combat system, which is possible to do, but it will take a hell of a lot of work and will fundamentally change the game as it is now. But it's not beyond possibility. That's there to stay probably, and it's just like it's when it's one of your two core elements of the game, which is one platforming, two combat, and the combat can mostly just be avoided completely. It's just absolutely nuts. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to leave this review here. As I say, I do recommend that you experience this game, but I do recommend you wait for a sale. At its current price point, I would say at least a 50% sale would be fair before this would become a worthwhile purchase in its current state. If they fix the save system so you can save mid-level or put mid-level checkpoints in, that will improve the experience enormously. It would cut out the frustration of the save bug, of the not the save bug, the level transition bug, which should be fixed as a separate issue anyway, because it shouldn't be happening. And the save corruption bug, that definitely shouldn't be happening, because this is a pretty big game from what I can tell. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to progress much past the second spirit power because it wiped my save, but this is going to be a pretty big game, so probably the hundreds of transitions you have to do from area to area, you can't be having that every one of those has a potential to lose your progress. It just can't happen at all. I'm waffling on for way too long about this one. Say it's a decent game with some fundamental issues which don't basically warrant it as an instant purchase right now, especially for the price point they've aimed it at. Hope you enjoyed the review. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.